The latest reboot of CBS's Criminal Minds solved one major mystery right off the cuff: the missing case of the main character of the show, Special Agent Reid. Where it's cleared up one question though, it's brought viewers another confusion. Why did Reid have to go? Before that though, you can breathe easy for now because he wasn't fired. It was just his schedule that got in the way. Matthew, who plays Reid on the show, had his hands full with other projects. This was confirmed by the showrunner too. Erica Messer cited a tight window on shooting as the culprit behind Reid's absence from the reboot. In addition, there are other cast and crew members whose availability needed to be taken into account, so it wasn't as easy as tapping Matthew for the role. So basically, it was the behind-the-scenes things that didn't line up the way they were supposed to. Plus, for the production to run smoothly, some tough decisions had to be taken. To the disappointment of both the old CBS transmission's avid audiences, the Paramount Plus spin-off didn't feature the star himself. After 15 seasons of seeing Reid on screen for CBS's Criminal Minds, the show had not just been a star vehicle for Goobler, but also a godsend for the network. Throughout its run, it racked up numbers north of tens of millions of viewers. The viewership has declined over the years, and with the Beyond Borders spin-off, things may go to ground zero before picking up speed again. Needless to say, the special agent and his popularity were sorely missed. For some viewers, Reid's absence from Evolution is bound to disrupt some of the timelines, but smart writing can fix that problem. How he's supposed to evolve as a character in the meanwhile?
Now that term is only used in central Ohio. William lived in Atlanta for 20 years, but he grew up in Columbus. The other guy uses words like turnpike and filling the gas tank, both specific regionalisms.
There are questions the show's writers will have to address. In case of Reid's return to the series, there's already one return story in place. Erica Messers also confirmed that Reid and Simmons' desks aren't going anywhere. As a symbol of their legendary work at BAU, it afforded him a return ticket to the series as well. So when or if the showrunners have the prodigal son returning to the series, then they pick Reid up right where he left off, his desk. What Reid's actually up to over the course of Evolution was really just left open to audience interpretation. That's also the safe bet, as it gives the creators some leeway in drafting the character arc they want to establish for Reid in future seasons. It falls in line with Matthew's own fondness for story writing. This is what may have kept him busiest during the show's filming dates. The 500 Days of Summer star has been working on a lot of projects, but the biggest launch to his career may have been Criminal Minds. The 42-year-old CBS star himself dropped some hints on Instagram about his future endeavors. It's not a movie or a series as much as it's a new book he's writing. Matthew turned author back in 2019 with a career-first #1 New York Times bestsellers list. Now aiming to go for a second round with Lady Luck perhaps, Matthew may focus more on his writing in the meanwhile. It's his new book called Rumple Buttercup. Plus, Matthew's novels have now achieved a fan base of their own, so it makes perfect sense why his absence was even harder to bear after getting used to Matthew's screen presence and quirky Dr. Reid's beloved wisdom.
All right, the first victim was found missing his right leg, the second both arms, and the third had no torso. So that leaves the left leg and the head unaccounted for. We can assume the head would be the most difficult piece to find.
It sometimes lands them in trouble, but often delivers miracles for the whole department. The fans could draw comfort from the fact that at least Spencer's colleague, Matt Simmons, would be there to hold the fort until some reinforcements arrive. Well, no, Daniel Henney, who plays Simmons on the show, also followed his actual colleague and ran into scheduling conflicts during the shooting.
For a long time when I started my career there, so it's important for me to be involved in projects that think progressively.
Matthew didn't make it easy not to miss his reprisal either. His acting as Agent Reid was organic and felt very natural.
This unsub has a very strong desire, a need for human blood. Now, fortunately, vampires display several characteristics which will be helpful in finding him.
Goobler's shaping of the character's mannerisms was the hardest task he had, and he aced it. This has landed him in the main character debate. The simple question, though, is whether he'll be able to take his legacy any further in the series. Though the odds were always in favor of Spencer Reid as the central character in an ensemble cast that includes talented actors like A.J. Cook, Adam Rodriguez, and others. Still, one guy's been a central figure in an otherwise revolving door policy for cast members on Criminal Minds. Just as one cast member would go, another came in to fill up the slots and smooth out the details. Some slots, though, aren't meant to be filled, like my man Spencer, who left a Reid-shaped hole in the series. One factor behind his main character energy is his slow burn character development that's taken 15 seasons to reach this point.
Just as probable statistically to commit a crime as anyone else. Look at the cross-section of a society. There's a general population and a small faction of this percentage.
He's not actually saying we believe Derek is involved.
And it was done as fluidly as possible, with routine domestic affairs being used to set up various plot points and informing Reid's own motivations. Matthew's portrayal of the agent can start anywhere. He can pick up the thread, so to speak, and resume his role once his schedule clears up. By the end of season 15, though, you can see Dr. Reid's career may have peaked now. Plus, he's getting old to be hanging out so much in the field. The spin-off pivots to youthful members of the department like Jack Garrett. No one can top Reid's contribution to the series, though. His character didn't exist just for his own arc to move forward, but also for each of the other cast members too. After 15 seasons on the same show, he's changed in several ways as a character. His previous trauma is surely but slowly healing, or rather, Reid's learning to come to terms with it to lead a balanced life. He's also both influenced by and a major influence, for better or for worse, on other central cast members. This kinda makes Reid the center of the Criminal Minds galaxy. Without him, it's not the same. This is why the doors open to a return of Dr. Reid. Despite the actor's absence from the recent reboot, he could well be at least a recurring cast member in the show, provided the show wanted to tone down the focus of the Doctor. Still, there's nothing stopping him from coming back to his professional home ground. In fact, he was not completely forgotten in Evolution, though you might have missed his mention. He was referenced through his characteristic desk, workspace, and of course the BAU as a whole. It's inseparable from the character's life, so fans had a lot to feast their eyes on, especially after a 3-year-long wait since the last season concluded. They were even willing to forego seeing their favorite genius on the screen. But for how long? How long can the show go on without a definitive return of Dr. Reid to the BAU? Maybe it was to keep up with the public pressure that the showrunners dropped their first strategy towards opening the door for Reid to return to the department in a future season. So in the recent episodes, Reid was finally disclosed as working on a different case at the moment. The next step could be for the Paramount Plus show to do a grand reveal, which will surely get the viewership count on a pleasant high.
A pattern connecting them, but I couldn't tell what it was until I broke it down mathematically. Why are we so drawn to celebrity faces? Because there's a symmetry to their beauty. The eyes, the ears, the ratio of the forehead to the chin. The more balanced they are, the more appealing they are to our eye.
It's interesting that the writers haven't made any concrete statement regarding Reid's whereabouts yet. This leaves room for plenty of possibilities, including whether Will's cancer will worsen or not. In the case of his death, a romance between JJ and Reid is imminent. What that might lead to is too far a stretch at this point, but I'm in no doubt over the fact that such a storyline will definitely require Matthew to return to the set.
He only has interest in the bodies as they relate back to him. Encryption's a highly specialized skill set, but it's fundamentally a mathematical process, which means it's a human process, so sometimes your technique can reveal where you learned it.
Plus, even without the love angle, the showrunners could bring back Reid through Will and JJ. As both co-workers and the closest of friends, the way they deal with this changing dynamic after Reid is away from active duty for a whole season will be crucial. That'll be an interesting showdown once, or if it does happen.